Should I have straightened my hair for this? Probably. Am I going to? No. Hi everyone, I'm Nicole and today I am going through all of the unread books on my Kindle. I ended up buying myself a new Kindle. I think was it earlier this month, and I was actually kind of sad about it because I really loved my old Kindle, but it broke, like the screen went or whatever, and I had to go through and reorganize everything, and so I thought I would expose myself even more as the book buying fiend that I am and tell you all of the books I have not yet read on my Kindle. So let's just get straight into it. The first book that I'm going to talk about is The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley. So in this book we follow a character called Julian. Julian is tired, and he's tired of feeling a deep sense of loneliness. And so he decides to start what he is calling the Authenticity Project, which basically consists of him, a green notebook, and just being truthful and honest about his life. In a turn of events, he accidentally leaves his notebook somewhere, and a woman named Monica finds the notebook and decides to track him down to give it back. But Monica is then inspired to start her own authenticity project. To be completely honest, I don't know much about this story as a whole. It's like a brief description of what's on the back. This was a title buy. I'm gonna be honest, it was a title buy. I saw The Authenticity Project, I thought it sounds really cute and cozy. For some reason it gives me like the Red Notebook vibes. I don't know whether it actually will. I need to read it to find out. I'm basically anticipating with this one a cozy read, and I really hope that's what I'm gonna get. Another book I have on my Kindle is The Curvy Girls Club by Michelle Gorman. In this book we follow best friends Pixie, Ellie, Katie and Jane. These girls are fed up of always trying and struggling to lose weight, and so they decide to start a social club where size doesn't matter and it's all about being confident within yourself. However, it doesn't take long for real life to start to creep in, and I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of fight for these girls to remain friends. Again, I don't really know what to expect from this book. A lot of my Kindle books I buy on a whim. I'm telling you that now. It appeals to me, I think, for obvious reasons, but I think it could also be a really cute and fun read. I'm always very careful, I think, about going into books like these because sometimes authors try and lift bigger girls up by bringing thinner girls down, and I don't like that. So I'm hoping it doesn't do that, and I'm hoping that it'll be a book about gaining confidence and strong friendship. Like, that's what I want. The next book is Matchmaking for Beginners by Maddie Dawson. We follow Marnie McGraw, who growing up she's always dreamed of the life of having husbands, kids, house and all that jazz. She wants what she considers an ordinary life. However, things don't quite go as planned when after 2 weeks her marriage ends. In the midst of all this, it sounds like her ex-husband's great aunt Blix passes away. Blix was a matchmaker and she leaves property to Marnie, and along with that all of her unfinished projects. I'm guessing these projects are the Unmatched based on the back of the book or the Kindle description. Basically it sounds like Blix believed that Marnie was the person to follow in her footsteps. I don't really remember why I downloaded this book. Like I say, I download Kindle books on a whim. It sounds like it could be a really sweet read. There's a slight chance that I didn't read the description before I downloaded it because I have a feeling it was probably a title buy. That sounds about right. Either way, I am now somewhat intrigued. The next book is Love Songs for Skeptics by Christina Pisciris. In this book we follow a woman named Zoe who is an editor for a major music magazine. While she understands the idea of love songs in general, when it comes to love itself, she is under the firm belief that love just kinda sucks. And then her childhood crush Simon comes back into town and he is single. Zoe, for years when she was younger, she tried to tell Simon how she felt, but she could never quite get around to doing it or get out the words. But now that he is back in town, she is determined to let him know how she feels. However, in the midst of all this, Zoe has to save her magazine from closure by landing an interview with this elusive rock idol, while there are also people out there determined not not to make this interview happen. I think the title of this book grabbed me anyway, and then I also read that there is apparently a My Big Fat Greek Wedding subplot courtesy of the brother, and honestly I am here for it. I love that movie. The next book is The Paris Girl by Natalie Meg Evans. This book takes place in 1920s Paris, and we follow a woman named Tatiana who was once a Russian princess in hiding. She is now a sought after model and engaged to a handsome if overbearing aristocrat. However, while all of this seems like a fortuitous turn of events, it turns out her fiance and his family have a darker side to them, and her fiance is perfectly happy to ruin Tatiana's life in order to salvage his own reputation. Again, I'm not sure why I downloaded this, but I really love the idea of reading something in 1920s Paris. It seems like there might be some romance with an American guy named Reagan. All in all, I don't really remember what initially intrigued me about the book, but I'm not sure I've read a book like this before, so I think it should be interesting. The next book is Can I Give My Husband Back by Kristin Bailey. In this book we follow a woman named Emma who is a heart surgeon. She's living in, I suppose, what the outside world would perceive as a pretty great life. She has a loving husband and 2 wonderful kids. But actually it turns out that her husband has been cheating on her, and I suppose now we're at a point where she is single and ready to mingle. However, she realizes that dating is a lot different to back before she got married. I downloaded this I think because I found the title funny. I'm not sure how I feel about this one overall, because books with like kids and marriage for some reason just aren't that exciting to me, but the title made me laugh, so I'm hoping for good things. The next set of books I'm going to talk about as a group, they're all by a woman named Judy Kaplan. We have The Little Cafe in Copenhagen, The Little Brooklyn Bakery, The Little Paris Patisserie, The Northern Lights Lodge, The Secret Cove in Croatia, The Little Tea Shop in Tokyo, and The Swiss Ski Chalet. I'm going to talk about all of these together because they're by the same author and they all clearly like have a similar theme. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure what any of them are about. I downloaded them all sometime in the midst of like heavy lockdown, when I was just like, I just want to travel. That's all I wanted to do. I was just like, I just want to travel somewhere. So I downloaded these books. I think I will end up reading them anyway because they do sound really cute. Plus, while we're in the UK just coming out of lockdown, travel is still, I think, very much off the cards. So I really hope I like this author because otherwise I'm kind of screwed. I've literally downloaded 7 of her books. They were like $2.99 each, so not bad, but it'll be really annoying if I don't like her writing or something. The next book I have is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Theyre. In this book we follow a duke and a vicar's daughter turned seamstress. When the Duke of Ashbury returns from war, he quickly realises that he needs an heir. When he meets Emma, the vicar's daughter turned seamstress, she is wearing a wedding dress, and from the sounds of it he just decides, yeah, you'll do. There are rules that he puts in place which Emma must follow. However, Emma has some rules of her own, and from the sounds of it, it sounds like none of these rules will stop at least one of them from falling in love. I have heard people rave about this book and I'm so excited to get to it. I'm a little bit nervous because I think it is a series, but I don't know whether the series follows on with the same characters or different characters. I just really hope I love this book and this series as much as everybody else seems to. The next book is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. This book is set in France in 1939. We follow Vianney, as she says goodbye to her husband Andoni as he has to fight in the front line of a war. Vianney doesn't really believe that the Nazis will invade France, however they do, and her home is taken over by a German captain and she is forced to live with the enemy or lose everything. It sounds like simultaneously we're also following her sister Isabel. We follow Isabel as she falls in love, however it sounds like she is betrayed and she then joins the resistance and continuously risks her life for others. I clearly don't know a lot about this book overall, but I just remember hearing a lot of people talking about it. I think when I originally joined booktube, or maybe just before that. I was intrigued and I'm interested to see what I think of it for myself. The next book is Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. In this book we follow best friends turned worst enemies Zoe and Denan, who have made an art of avoiding each other. Their families are described as the modern day versions of the Montagues and the Capulets from Romeo and Juliet. But when a camping trip goes awry, Zoe and Denan find themselves in the wilderness together, but aside from each other, completely alone. I'm not gonna lie to you, I downloaded this one by accident. This was a while ago. I feel like I was trying to add it to my basket and I just accidentally clicked buy now or whatever you click, and now I own it. So yeah, I haven't got into it yet, but to be fair, I didn't know what it was about. But reading the description, actually, it sounds like I could potentially like it, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, and I'm not mad about it. The next book is The Letter by Katherine Hughes. In this book we follow two women born decades apart, but their lives seem to hold a number of parallels. I think primarily from the sounds of it, we follow a woman named Tina who is volunteering in a charity shop. In this charity shop, she is going through an old suit and she finds a letter. The letter was written in 1939 and Tina is so moved by the contents of this letter, she decides that she would like to find out more about the person who wrote it and the recipients, or the intended recipients of the letter, as the letter was sealed, never opened, no postage marks on it or anything like that. This book was actually recommended to me by a friend and I still haven't gotten to it. Bad me. It sounds like it might be a really beautiful story and I'm really interested to get to it. The next book is The Wish List by Jane Costello. In this book we follow a woman named Emma who is in the last 6 months of her 20s and suddenly realises that she didn't accomplish anything that she thought she was going to by the time she turned 30. Her career for her, she feels, is all wrong. She hasn't met the love of her life. She's never jumped out of a plane. Her life just isn't what she pictured it would be at this stage in her life. I'm 27. I'm only 27. I'm only 27. I have time. I'm only 27. But as everybody turns 30 around her, Emma makes the decision that she wants to address some of these things that she feels that she didn't accomplish. This sounds like a bucket list type book and I'm here to try it out because I haven't found a good one yet. I feel like I come across books which seem like bucket list type books but haven't loved them or haven't been what I thought they were going to be, so I'm hoping this one is what I think it's going to be. The next one I have is One to Watch by Kate Stayman London. In this book we follow a woman named Bea who is a plus size fashion blogger. She has amazing friends, a devoted family, masses of Instagram followers, and she also has a broken heart. Bea is a fan of a reality TV show called Main Squeeze. It's all about fantasy dates, rejections, all of that. However, she is struck by the fact that there is a lack of body diversity on this show. Just when Bea swears off dating altogether, she gets a call from the showrunners and they want her to be the star of the next season, I guess. And Bea agrees under one condition, and that condition is that she will not fall in love. Yeah, I think we can all see where this might go. I don't know how I feel about it personally because I actually hate most reality TV shows. So I'm kind of like, well, I like this. I think I downloaded it because I heard a bunch of people really loving it. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And now I'm reading the description. I'm like, is this something I'm actually going to enjoy? I don't know. But I have heard really good things, so I'm willing to give it a go. Especially now that I own it. The next book is Spoiler Alerts by Oliviadade. So in this book we follow two characters named Marcus and April. Marcus is a pretty famous actor on a popular TV show. However, what nobody knows is that he actually writes fan fiction about his character on this TV show, stuff that I guess he doesn't agree with and wants to vent his frustrations. The problem is that if the showrunners find out, he is most certainly fired. April has secrets of her own, but she is also a fan of the show and does her own fan fiction and cosplay. And one particular cosplay she does of one of the characters in the show, she posts a photo online and she gets a ton of comments, some supportive, some not so great, on the plus size take of this character, and Marcus ends up seeing the picture and decides to take her out. To me it sounds like they know each other online but not in real life kind of deal. They're both hardcore fans of the show. They both write fan fiction, however one of them just happens to work on the show as well. It sounds really freaking cute and I want to read it. The last book on this list is The Roommates by Rosie Denan. We follow a woman named Clara who is pretty much known as the good girl in her family. Despite this, it doesn't stop her from taking an offer from her childhood crush to move across the country to move in with them. However, there's a bait and switch kind of situation and she ends up sharing a lease with a complete stranger named Josh, who is a porn star. I really don't know much else about this book. Again, I've just heard people talk about it and seem to really enjoy it. I think the premise sounds really interesting and funny, and I really hope it's as good as I'm anticipating in my head. So that is it. That is all of the unread books that I have on my Kindle, excluding duplicates, what I actually have on my shelf, because I'm not going to talk about those again. If you have gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. Is there anything that you're interested in yourself or anything that you've read and you would recommend for me to move it up my list? Please let me know. I'd love to talk about that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz if you want to, if you fancy. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!